Thank you, Brian. And for those of you who do wish to join the NDP, we do have membership forms at the exit on your way out. And just ask Marshall, tell him you want to join the NDP. There are also leaflets there showing some information about what the NDP has said and has been saying about healthcare in the legislature over the past session. Last Friday in the Lethbridge Herald, following on the heels of something that appeared in an internet group called Facebook that I think most people have heard about, there was a very moving letter by a young man by the name of Virgil Grandfield. Virgil is here tonight and he has agreed to tell his story. So Virgil, would you come to the microphone, please?
First, I wanted to recognize my mother who came out tonight. She's a former nurse, midwife, mother of 11, and she's sitting in the back there. So can you hear me, Mom? Mom, can you hear me? Okay. I'm not an expert of any sort on these issues, just a guy with a dad who's sick. My dad has Alzheimer's dementia. I wrote a letter about it last week, and at present he's at the hospital in the assessment unit where they're observing him, treating him while his placement issues are being decided. And while at the same time the government of Alberta is closing the long-term care facilities at St. Michael's Hospital, which is across the street from my house, and also extended care, and I've learned eventually closing assisted living facilities at St. Michael's as well. I had prepared, in honor of my father, who's been a minister for over 40 years, I prepared a mini sermon for you tonight. But something happened just before I came to this meeting that gave me another story to tell. I'll start by telling you a Russian fable. Do I have time? Okay. There was a king once who had a lovely daughter. She was the pride of the kingdom. And he sent out the word that any man who could come and actually steal something from the palace could have the hand of his daughter in marriage. And so a number of men tried in many different ways to steal something of value from the palace. And there was a crotchety sentry at the gates of the palace, the gates of the city. And each day there was a young man who would come to the gates with a wheelbarrow full of different things. The first day he came to the gates and it was full of sticks, and the sentry went through all of the sticks and he broke some of the sticks and lifted them all up, and he couldn't find anything of value, and so he let him go. And then the next day the young man came and he had the wheelbarrow and it was full of pebbles, and so the guard, he went through very carefully all the pebbles and sifting through all of them, and couldn't find anything of value in the wheelbarrow, and so he let him go. And then the next day he came through, the young man, a very slick-looking young man and well-dressed, and this crotchety old guard knew that there was something up with this guy, but he just couldn't peg him. And this other day he came through and had a load of sand, and so the guard, he went through the sand and he actually got something out to sift through all the sand, and he couldn't find anything through it, so he let him go. And so this continued, and then soon the young man came to the king and he says, "I'd like to take your daughter now." And the king said, "Well, what do you mean? My guard says that you haven't stolen, or no one else has stolen anything of value from the city." And he says, "Well, I've been stealing wheelbarrows." And the king sent his guy down to check the warehouse, and they were all gone. Now, I want you to keep that story in mind while I tell you another story.